What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Baby, don't...
There are some topics in this human world that will forever remain topical and relevant, and especially in times of sort of chaos and tumult, like nowadays, like hypernovel modernity. They require reinterpretation, and I bet you one of those topics is love. Now hear me out, because when I was younger and I sort of was consuming content that had to do with love, or somebody mentioned love and failed to explain what they meant, that sort of annoyed me, because I was like, come on, I hear this word bandied about so much, but I don't know what it means. And it appears nobody knows what it means. But now that I'm older, wiser, I think I've come to realise that, okay, love is actually such a powerful, not emotion, nor is it a feeling, nor is it delusion, although could be argued. No, it's not. But it's so powerful that it evades clear definition. It's impossible to grasp fully with a succinct sentence or even paragraph of a definition. But you can point to it by describing its effects on people, which are great. By describing its effects on people, describing what it drives people to do, describing how it makes people think, how it distorts their reality in such a way that functions to, if you're like an objective observer of the person who is currently in love and watching them do what they do, you think to yourself, that guy is insane. That guy or gal is insane. But, okay, this is an important topic, relevant today, and if we want to imbue our lives with a sense of meaning once more in this age of meaning crisis, among many other crises, we can look to love as a universal human phenomenon. That's not to say it's not elsewhere in the animal world, but just focusing on the human part of it. Oh, so human love. We can look to something as foundational to the human experience as love and seek to understand it better, because the way we understand the world, the ideas we have about the world, the concepts that we harbour up here in the old noggin, these beliefs significantly affect our actions. Our beliefs affect our actions, which in turn affect our beliefs in some sort of a cycle, and we can make that cycle as virtuous or as decadent as we'd like. Okay, so take for example, when I was in college, I had some female friends, and I saw a lot of them go down bad pathways based on their beliefs. I remember one of them airing this belief among us in a small enough group. She said, love and attraction between human beings merely functions for a man to inseminate a woman, beyond which said love and attraction will dissipate. And I was like, okay, yeah, that I'm willing to contemplate. That seems to make sense. But there's something missing, I said. But I didn't really... Okay, this is an important point. That is a meta point. Yes, as a young person, it is most certainly important to challenge the beliefs and societal norms that you've been culturally inculcated to believe. One way of doing that, to begin doing that, you could, as a young college student or a young human of college student age, you could begin by just reflexively looking at the exact opposite of whatever the societal norm or cultural teaching is, and be like, boom, okay, let's look at that, which is a good impulse. It's a sort of a bold and courageous impulse. You say, I'm not going to fear what my culture has implicitly told me to fear, and I'm going to look where my culture has implicitly told me not to look. Good. That's a good way to begin thinking for yourself and seeing the world in a clearer light. But that's not to say that immediately adopting the actions that stem from said exact opposite beliefs is a good idea. And this, I think, is where a lot of people fall down. Yes, it's good to train yourself to be able to see the antithesis to your cultural thesis, but you also have to train yourself to hold both in combination and see the multi perspectives, the many perspectives that obviously emanate from both, and try to synthesize your own meta perspective that accommodates for the kernels of truth within both sides and joins them together. So where I think the girls fell down in college was they got it right. They trained themselves to reflexively go to the opposite of the cultural societal norms, but they got it wrong in immediately adopting the actions that stem from said beliefs. And your actions have consequences. They can be grave consequences. So that is an important point. Now, coming back to love. It doesn't make sense that between a man and a woman, love will have evolved simply to encourage the pair to copulate, and then the two just simply ignore each other because, well, the man has gotten what he wanted and job done. No, that doesn't make evolutionary sense. So this is where I'm getting with the meta point. Yes, look at the opposite, but also train yourself to synthesize them. The evolutionary lens is extremely clarifying. This will help you to synthesize the 2 points into something that makes a lot more sense, especially in this hypernovel modern context that we live in. Evolutionarily speaking, human offspring are some of the most expensive in terms of resources and investment by elders into these offspring to bring them to full sexual maturity. So with that investment, or with that altruistiality in children, human children, that just means helplessness at birth, and the neoteny, which just means the length of time it takes for the offspring individual to go from fully helpless to fully mature. Years and years for humans. With that, it requires parental investment. Parental investment by one parent, maternal investment, is good, but paternal coupled with maternal investment is better. Better yet, many hands make light work, sort of a thing. So love evolved as this sort of, how do I say this? As a mechanism by which to ensure biparental investment in these extremely expensive little humans to take them from helplessness to full maturity. So it doesn't make sense that love would evolve simply for copulation and then to leave. But it does make sense when you consider altruistiality, neoteny, just how long it takes for a small human to become a big, mature human. It makes sense that love, one of the perhaps many functions of love, is to ensure biparental investment. So I hope that all makes sense. And this sort of way of thinking is what I want to develop some more. And so I'm going about cultivating an online presence, which is going to fall under my name, James Brannigan, and also a brand, The New Naturalist. And I have a vision for The New Naturalist to grow with many like-minded people, where, yes, we're not afraid to think. We can take thesis and antithesis, but we don't just adopt the reflexive stance or reflexive reactionary stance. Instead, we synthesize it all into something more appropriate to our times. And so I see it as, well, it will prevent the likes of the girls in college who ended up, there were consequences to their actions, not necessarily like children. They're major consequences, but psychological consequences, because beliefs affect your actions affect your life, and sometimes you can fuck up bad. And I think our decadent culture right now is just throwing people to the shredder. It's just meat grinding people up. People are fed up with this. It's not fair. I don't like seeing this human potential go to waste because of inappropriate beliefs. So The New Naturalist is about becoming better at thinking about the modern context we find ourselves in and recalibrating our internal motivational structures such that we pursue goals that are worthy by our own definition, you know? Instead of pursuing the casual one-night stand hookup, we pursue the long-term monogamous, pair bonding, extremely meaningful, magnificent, beautiful relationship. Not because it's traditional or traditional, but because we see the value in it based on our being able to think about thesis, antithesis, and the synthesis. That's it. Let's go, new naturalists. Let's go.